Good evening, everyone, and welcome back to another Town Book Center virtual event. It has been a while since we've done one of these. We haven't done one this year yet. I had to get one joke in about the new year. I do apologize, but I do hope that everyone had a wonderful, healthy, and happy holiday season and new year. Tonight, I'm joined by Sandy Jo Weston, MD. She's owned and operated her own wellness companies in the Philadelphia area for over 30 years. Early in her career, she became the first female trainer for the Philadelphia Flyers and worked with the Philadelphia 76ers dance team. Sandy also spent many years as a media personality and as a Philadelphia NBC 10's fitness expert, where she was able to highlight local businesses, teach fitness trends, and interview some of the best of Philadelphia's athletes. She also created the nationally recognized Philly Street Line Dance to help combat Philly's fattest city label. For the past 5 years, Sandy has been focusing on SJW Productions, an international company whose main mission is to highlight all the positives in the world and help people come together to reach their individual and common goals. She does this through her podcasts, her books, Train Your Heart and Your Body Will Follow, My 30-Day Reset Journal, and her programs and workshops. Sandy's mission is to spread joy and positivity in the world. So, Sandy, first of all, thank you so much for being my first person that we've had in 2021.
Woohoo! I love that.
Yes, it is a good year. It's a better year. We are going to make it a better year.
Yes, we are. We are.
So, I guess my first question is going to be this. No, I'm going to leave the hockey stuff for the end. I apologize. I'm a giant hockey fan. I'm going to nerd out a little bit on that. But before I do, what inspired you to create this book?
Big question. All right, I'm going to show you right now. Ready?
Oh, yeah.
This. You see this?
Yeah.
It says Happy New Year. Now, that sounds like, what are you talking about? Little things make a huge difference. Little things make you smile. Little things bring you pure joy. I believe people make a big, hairy deal out of so many things. And I want to show people how something you could do every single day, just a little bit, for 1 to 3 minutes a day, could change your life in a positive, powerful way. And it didn't have to be painful, and it didn't have to be excruciating, and it could be fun, and yes, sometimes silly. That was the whole reason I wanted to create this book.
Well, let me ask you then a bit of a follow-up question to that. Why is it that you think that so many people have this belief that it has to be some big, monumental, kind of shoot-the-moon changes that really get us where we need to be? And obviously that's the case because, the idea that you tell someone, you can change your life with a simple 1 to 3 minute something a day, we all sort of go, really? 1 to 3? I feel like you gotta run a marathon, or you've got to do a training montage with Mr. Miyagi, or you've got to go to the Alps and learn from a Hindu master. I just do this in my bedroom? That feels weird. Why is that?
Or like you were talking about, you have to do Rocky's regime, right?
Uh-huh.
We are all or none people. I mean, that's the way it is. We have to go in full throttle. And also, like you said, we hear, you have to meditate up on the mountain for 2 hours a day. You got to run those stairs. You have to lift weights every other day for 2 hours. Well, yeah, that's fun and that's great. And that works for a lot of people. Well, not a lot, a few people. Mm-hmm. But it's really not necessary. But we can't get in our heads. For some reason, we feel as if, and I don't think it's just in the US, we feel like we have to suffer. Mm-hmm. That if we're not struggling and suffer, it can't work, right? Well, here's the thing. This is funny. One of my closest friends, I've been trying to get her to do dance workouts with me. My undergrad is in dance. And I said, you don't have to hate it. She's like, I tried all these other workouts and we don't want to name them. I hate them. I'm miserable. I go, well, then try a dance workout. I've known her for 30 years. She comes in the other day. Oh my gosh, Drew, it was the funniest thing. And she's like, Sandy, let's dance. I'm so into dancing. I lost all those weight. It's incredible. I wanted to smack her. It was so funny because I've been saying, she goes, no, I tried this new thing and I get it. And I go, oh my God, I've been saying that to you for years. She's like, look at me. Do you see what I'm saying? Like, yes, I'm looking at you. You don't have to suffer. If you hate dancing, dancing's not your thing. But we have that. It's got to be painful and we have to suffer. And it's just not true. So I always tell people, all right, listen to me. I get it. But let's just try it for 30 days. And the reason I'm saying 1 to 3 minutes, because it's 1 to 3 minutes for the journal to get your head in that space. So I created a journal that only takes you 1 to 3 minutes a day. You might from there, after you're in that positive, powerful mindset, work out for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, meditate. But you're going to come from the space of, I want to do it versus I shoulda, coulda, woulda. Does that make sense?
That makes complete sense to me. And again, as someone who, I think that most of us struggles with that. Instead of saying, today I'm gonna make a good choice. I'm gonna not have soda. I'm gonna instead have some vegetables. I don't need to have a Pop-Tart for breakfast. I'll have some egg whites and some spinach. Instead of making like the occasional small choices, I am certainly guilty of saying 1,500 calories today. That is all I will eat, and I will look up the most brutal and unpleasant way to eat that because there should be no joy in eating. And so I resemble that remark at times. How did you create this system, for lack of a better word? I know system puts all sorts of weird constraints on it, but English is limited as a language.
Now, and you and I were talking about that. I really believe there's so many ways to be mentally and physically healthy. And what you're drawn to, that's the program I want you to do. And that's what when people say to me all the time, what's the best workout for this? What's the best ab exercise? And I always say the one you're going to do. I mean, that's really it. So that's why in the book, there's a mindset and there's a spiritual component and there's a food freedom and there's fitness. And then there's stuff, I say for the science brain or the guru who's more spiritual, because whatever you're attracted to, whatever you're drawn in, you're going to get to the same end result. And when I was creating the book, I truly wanted to show people that there was more than one way. The most important thing was getting you in that headset. So what I did is I set out to interview 200 people. And I was able to do that because I had a lot of clients at my gym. And I would barter with them and say, listen, I'll train you for free. You could have free membership. Let me interview you. And I picked people from all walks of life, Drew, that had everything from the professional hockey player, football players, dancers, mom and dad, CEO. It didn't matter. I wanted something that was common in them. If I saw that spark in them, that they exuded pure joy, I wanted to interview them and see what was going on. So I did this for, almost a year. Mm-hmm. And what I found out is the one thing that they all had in common. They all got out of bed, and the first thing they did is something that got them in that positive mindset. It didn't matter if it was a few minutes, 5 minutes. It didn't matter if it was meditation, journaling, working out, running, hiking, baking muffins, playing a piano, jazz music. It was so different. Writing charts, focusing in on how their day was going to go. It didn't matter, Drew, but that's how they started their day. That was the one thing they had in common. And they would wake up in the morning and say, hey, I'm showing up in the world this way. This is how I'm going to show up in the world. This is how I'm going to attack the world. And it was all different, but it's all positive and powerful. Yes, all that stuff is going on out there, but how am I going to show up in the world? So when I did that, I was like, wow, maybe I create a journal to go with that. I can get something to get people in that headset. And so I did that, and it failed miserably. It failed flat in his face because I created something that was going to take 5 minutes. And then I went back to the drawing board and I met with all my professors and gurus. And I'll never forget Dr. Kendrick, who was head of the exercise physiology department at Temple. He goes, well, of course, Sandy, it's going to fail. No one's going to spend 5 minutes a day to change their life in a positive, powerful way. What do you think? I'm like, what? 5 minutes a day? He goes, no, not unless they already have the routine. Make it 1 to 3 minutes a day. And so I went back to the drawing board and created something that would take 1 to 3 minutes a day. And voila, it worked.
Yeah, I believe that wholeheartedly. I think, okay, you're going to laugh. It's a bad example, but I think it really does sort of exemplify what you're talking about. When I go to the grocery store and I'm looking at, buying frozen food, right? I will read the instructions. And if their instructions require me to, peel the foam or the plastic cover back a third of the way, and then swirl it and then put it back in for 3. I'm not buying it. I want the thing I put in once. I hit the button. I leave. I come back. It's done. The poke holes 8 centimeters apart. No, too much effort. I'm not doing that. So the difference between 2 minutes and 3 or 5 minutes and 3 minutes, that 2 minutes, that's an important 2 minutes. I get it.
I love that analogy because you know what? I know I do that. As much as people think, yeah, I like to move, I like simplicity. Mm-hmm. I am that person that probably is like, if I look, I have to do this with the vegetables. Yeah, I'm not doing that. Hey, there's more than 5 steps to make these things. No, not happening. Yeah. I need 3 and I'm done.
But what's funny is you keyed in on the other important piece of it, though. So again, I'm that guy. I'm like, I'm not. You have to unfold it a third of the way and swear. I'm not doing that. But tonight for dinner, I went and said, you know what? I'm going to do something fun. I got one of my cookbooks out, and I made okonomiyaki, which is like a Japanese pancake. And it's it is a little bit of labor. I have to work with batter, which I don't like doing. So why was I able to do that, but I'm not willing to do the same for my lean cuisine? And the real answer is that this made me feel good. I enjoyed doing this. I went, I want to do this. So, okay, I don't really want the lean cuisine. I'm not there because I'm like, what I'm really craving is some watery turkey meatballs and pasta. I'm doing it because I think it's the quote-unquote right thing to do. So taking 3 minutes in the morning, doing something you enjoy that makes you feel present in the world makes complete sense to me. So I'm curious. You said that the first time around, it didn't work. 5 minutes just wasn't a thing. When you went back and talked to those people after they had the new 1 to 3 minute plan, how did they react to that? What was the general response?
So, a lot of it wasn't the exact same people. When I went out and first tested, I guess it was over 100 people, and then I went back out, I couldn't get the same exact people because that would have been a great idea, great idea. But I do know this. The people that did it thought the 1 minute worked. So that, when I say 1 to 3 minutes, because some of them would take a minute in the morning to look at the journal, and some of them would take a minute at night. And now and then, it would take a minute 30 for each. They loved that. They loved the idea that it was like a minute in the morning, minute midday, minute at night, and that's it.
So, you also say that with this plan, it's a 30-day process. I guess first of all, why 30 days? Why not make it 60? Why not make it a week, 2 weeks? And what happens? Well, you know what? Let me leave part B for your answer. Sorry, I'm not gonna double up on you. I promise.
Okay. So it's a good question, and it doesn't have to be 30 days, 60 days, 20 days, because when they did go through what's going to create a habit, and people would say, 30 days to create a habit, 20 days, it's not true, because everybody is different. It depends on how long you've been a certain way. It depends on the individual. It depends on how much you want it. It depends on how much energy. So really, when they came up with all those books, like 20-minute days, 30 days, whatever, it's all ballpark, depending on what you're going after. But what I did in the book is I divided it up in 30 days. By the way, there's 2 journals in there, because the first 80 days you're making your game plan, and each week you're resetting your game plan, and you have a different thing that you're looking at. So for example, if this week you start out and we're talking about most focusing on the mindset, not that you're not doing everything, then the next week you're going to do food freedom, and the next week you're going to do more spirituality. And the reason I do that is because I want to keep you excited and fun and get your head back in the game and always have something new and fresh to look forward to.
Okay. And
Does that make sense?
It makes complete sense to me. And I'm glad I waited before asking the second part of my question, because in a way, you already sort of answered it / teed me up for it. So this was good. We communicated well there. My follow-up there, I guess, is what happens at the end of 30 days or 20 days or 90 days? And it sounds like the answer is, if we've done this successfully, you've created a positive habit. Would that be accurate to say?
Okay, so at the end of the 30 days, when you're looking at what you've done with like your game plan, you then reevaluate what went right. So you always look at like, hey, not, oh, I failed. You don't want to have guilt. You don't want to feel bad. Like I always hear people saying, oh my God, I screwed up. This is all about not this. This is not about you feeling bad because something didn't work out. This is all about you saying, hey, this is what I did do well. I'm very much into that. Not all the things you said you were going to do, you didn't do. This is what I did do well, and this is what I'm going to build on. So you go from that. You say, all right, this is it. This is what's going on. I did this, I did that. Now from that, what can I take into my next month? And then you recreate a whole new game plan with a whole new goal. You might stay with it, or you might switch to another one. But Drew, the whole idea is that you should be constantly making new goals for yourself, whether they're small ones or big ones, whether it's something that you're doing in 30 days or 60 days, 9 days. It's so important to have a focus and something that you're looking forward to, not just with your body, but with anything.
Mm-hmm. So what are some good examples of good goals that we can set? I mean, again,
Okay.
For example, you don't want to shoot the moon. It's not a reasonable goal that I say, hey, look, I'm going to go and start skating again, and the Red Wings are going to take a look at me because they were the worst team in the league, and I've got a pretty good shot. Not a realistic goal. What's a good one? Or is it?
Okay.
You tell me it's a realistic one, I'll take it.
Okay. So do you mind if I go over the game plan right now? Because that'll really...
Yeah.
Okay. So I created the acronym game plan, which is goal, action, motivation, and energy. So if you look at the goal that you're going after, right? What goal do you really want for yourself? And if you look at it, let's stay with the health and fitness. If it has to do with working out and you have been a couch potato, right? You've been just sitting around and you're a couch potato. You want to make sure that you don't go, okay, because I've seen this, right? I own gyms and that's what people did. They will come in from doing nothing and then they're going to work out 7 days a week for an hour and it lasts 3 weeks. And then what I said to them is, let's be realistic. If you've never been successful at it, then even just start for 5 minutes a day. If you do 10, 15, or 20, that's great. But your mind and body wants to see success. So you just want to stretch it slightly out of your comfort zone. If you write down your goal and you, like I said, it's more, great. You can always up it. But just slightly out of what you've seen is possible. And that's the big thing. Because your goal, when you look at this, Drew, and this is the most important thing when you're setting goals, you have to believe it. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, You can't write it and go, oh, I've never achieved it. I'm not going to achieve it. Do you know how many times I tried to achieve it? It can't be any of that stuff. Do you know what I mean? You have to truly believe that this is possible for you. Not just possible, but I can make this happen and wipe out all the doubt. I always call have a brain drain and write it down, all the reasons you haven't reached it. So you have to believe it, because some people just write and they don't even really believe it. All right. So that's a goal. And that's really being honest with yourself and wanting it for you, not because your friend wants it, your spouse wants it, but you really want it. And then it goes with the action. What action are you willing to take to get that goal? So those two go hand in hand, because if you say, well, I want to do a marathon, and then you're not willing to put in all the work to be, in a marathon, then change the goal. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, You have to say, all right, this action is what I'm going to need to take. And am I really going to be willing to do that? So that's the next thing. The M is the big thing. That's the big thing, the motivation. Why do you want this? Right? It's got to be more than I want to lose 5 or 10 pounds. It's got to be, I want to feel good inside and out. I want to be as healthy as possible, while I'm chasing my children, or I want to be able to bend down and pick up my grandkids and feel great. There has to be a bigger reason. It could be you just newly got divorced and you want to get out in the dating market.
Sure.
But the motivation is what's going to get you out of bed to do it on those days when you don't really feel like doing it. And then E is the energy level you're going to put into it. How much energy are you going to go all in? No, I'm going to devote, like, on a scale of 1 to 10, 8, or, like, be honest with yourself. I'm going to give it a 5. And that's your game plan. And that's how you can set yourself up for success.
Okay. I really like that approach. I think that there's something. I like that. Let me back it up. First of all, I like the fact that you acknowledge that it's not just about making the game plan. It's not just about having an idea, but it's also about acknowledging, okay, if I want to run the marathon, for example, am I willing to do the stuff that will require? So what are some, trying to think of how to say it without getting into specific examples, but maybe there's no other way around it. What are some really good examples you can think of where people have been able to take this, the game plan and really run with it? What are some great goals that you've seen people set?
Okay, the ones I've seen very, very successful is their goal is they're going to work out every other day, no matter what, for 20 minutes. I've seen people be very successful at that. I've seen people be very successful no matter what. I'm going to move for a minute every hour in between my meetings. I've seen people very successful for that because they get up and just move like for a minute or 2 minutes. I've seen people very successful with, I'm just going to make sure no matter what, I move every day for 10 minutes, no matter what. Other things like I'm going to make sure that I get up in between meetings and dance around the house or open the door and go outside. I've seen people really successful. So it's because they're get excited about it and they're realistic about it and they like it. Like I said, they like lifting, they like hiking, they go outside, they bike, they dance. They really look forward to it. That's what I've seen really work. That's on the movement side. Mm-hmm. The other side of it, as far as nutrition, okay, I'm going to give you an example here. I don't know if you can see it. I didn't even drink it, but I brought it just because it's a wine bar. Can you see the wine?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Can you see the tea?
Yeah.
Herbal tea. And club soda with blueberries.
Oh, nice.
So, what I did is my goal is to cut back in the new year on not having every night a glass of wine because there's so many socialization things, do you know what I mean, on Zoom that I feel like what we're doing is I'm having that little bit extra glass of wine more than is good for me, right?
Sure.
So instead of just going, okay, I'm not going to have all that, I substituted, and this works really well. Here's the wine in a really pretty glass, and there's a half glass. And here's the club soda with blueberry, and here's the tea. I know it sounds crazy, but it works for me because now I don't feel like I'm doing without, but there's other things I look forward to, which is the same thing with food. And that's why in my food section, it says food freedom. Okay. Because food freedom is, let's celebrate all the foods you do love so that when you're cutting back on your sodas or your French fries or your Funyuns or whatever, you have other things you look forward to. So you put more of them on the plate. Like for me, I eat everything. I really do. But I eat it in moderation. So some of the things I just cut back to a little bit. Like they're having pepperoni pizza and I'm on one of my things where I want to really lean out or fit back in my jeans. I'll just eat a half a slice with all the other stuff that I enjoy too.
Sure.
Those have been successful.
That makes total sense to me. Again, it's not about having the $1,500 calorie a day diet where you just go, I will have flatbread and boiled chicken and seasonless vegetables. What are some of the pitfalls that people can run into when they try and implement this? Is it just setting unrealistic goals, or is it not sticking to every day we're going to do 1 to 3 minutes, or what are some of the pitfalls?
Okay, so I'll tell you what is the top 5 things. I think this is a good point to set yourself up for success and why it works and why the other ones would come along if they didn't.
I like how you reframe my negative question as a positive. I like that. Okay.
It's the way my brain works.
No, okay. It's a good thing. I'm sitting here going, tell me about the bad things. And you're like, let me tell you the best ways this works. That's just wonderful.
Well, because these are the top 5 reasons I think why you will succeed.
Okay.
And we already discussed the first one. And the number one thing is you definitely have to believe it. You have to believe it, believe it, believe it. And I tell people this, your brain doesn't want, we all know this, it doesn't like change. It's the devil you know versus the devil you don't know, right? It doesn't like change. So if you don't totally believe it, you got to start imagining in your head, imagining it over and over. All right, see it. How would you feel if you already had that dream body? How would you feel if you already had that dream job? How would you feel if you were in the best shape of your life, had that new home? Get inside it and feel it and imagine it. And when you do that, you gradually start breaking down all those barriers of the brain going, no, 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 because that's what it is. It's just a habit. Like, it's things you've been thinking over and over and over again, and it doesn't want to change. It's like, no, this is danger. So that's how you start believing it. You just start seeing it in your head. You start looking at it. Like, that's why the imagination is so important. Yes, you have to take action, but that's where it starts. The second thing is, I do believe in writing it down, because I know they say it's 41% are more likely to achieve their goals by doing that. But also, I don't know, whatever the percentage is, when you see it, when you look at it, you're more likely to stick to it, because you're like, oh, all right, that's my game plan. That's what I want to do. The third thing is, like I said, the game plan. You have to really, whether you call it a game plan, whatever, what's your goal? What's the action you're going after every day, so that you can stay for it? So you go, all right, I'm going to, walk 5 minutes every day. I'm going to make sure I go to the grocery store once a week to cook healthy, right? Mm-hmm. That is so important. That's why the game, whatever it is, your game plan, how you're getting there, you have to have one. And fourth is an accountability partner. That's really, really important. Your accountability partner, whether it's a mentor, a trainer, a coach, a friend, somebody that knows what you're doing and going after, and is going to keep you on that path. On the days you don't want to do it, be great. Not that they don't even have to have the same goal as you, but if you do both, can support one another. People do have coaches, they are great, they have mentors, they have life coaches, they all work because they're making you be held accountable. But that buddy and friend, someone that truly wants you to achieve your goals, it's really important to have that. Mm-hmm. And the fifth one is, I love words. So I have words everywhere, like everywhere. I love words. It's like a word of the day: pure joy, love, gratitude, courage, whatever I'm going after. But I say, you want to create a power statement. A statement that you can say your mantra over and over again that's going to help you reach your goal. So, for example, the one I have right now is, I'm going to eat and move to feed my body and soul. And I change it up. You could change it up every week. You could change it up every month. But I eat and move to feed my body and soul. So that's my top 5 things that I really, truly believe, not that there aren't more, will help you see success more times than not. And here's the deal. If you don't do it, don't feel guilty. Don't feel bad. Don't beat yourself up, because that's the worst thing you could do. It's like, oh crap, I set the game plan. I was supposed to write in my journal. I didn't. Okay, so what? Now what? You go back to and say, now what do I really want to do? Was this really realistic for me? Did I really want this for me, or was I doing it for somebody else? It's really important.
So I think that's really fascinating and incredibly healthy. So many plans, programs, diets, self-help, whatever you have, whatever you want to, your thing is, they don't have a, hey, if something goes wrong, here's how to approach that. Because it's natural. We all stumble. We all mess up. I was joking, and not so much joking, but teasing a little before the show about my mother, who is the toughest, most intense person I know. I love her. If she had her way, she'd have climbed Mount Everest. The rest of the family sort of said, no. We all begged her not to. But she is incredible. And yet, she has this thing for salted caramel. If you gave her the opportunity, she would, I think, eat her weight in salted caramel. It is her thing. And by the way, if you're watching, Mom, I love you, and I'm not outing you, I promise. But
That's so cute.
But it's her thing, and so even this person who is iron-willed. I mean, iron. You put some salted caramel in front of her, it may not be there for long. And, she's found ways to incorporate that into whatever she's doing, whatever diet she's working on, whenever she's worked with a nutritionist, whenever she's put together a game plan for a marathon. She's always said, look, I need to have a way to incorporate this, because I know if you don't let me have it, I'm going to have it my own way, and it's not going to work. And in sort of sync with that, coming up with what we do when we break down and evaluating from the perspective of what happened, where was the disconnect, and not making it, well, I failed because I'm bad or weak or lazy or whatever negative connotation you want to put there, I think is really incredibly important. And it actually ties in a way, to my next question, which is, you obviously have a huge background when it comes to helping people achieve their goals. How much of what you've seen in your personal, professional life prior to this sort of became the background for the synthesis of this idea?
Good question. So I didn't realize it till years later, but I've been doing this my whole life and didn't even think about it. It was just who I was, how I did things. And it wasn't until I was, like 70,000 words short for my first book. They're like, wait a minute. I'm like, what are you talking about? It's perfect. I didn't want it to be this long book. It's it's definitely a journal. It's a guidebook. I tried to cut it out, so many things. And they're like, no, the contract says it has to be 70,000 words. And so I started to write a little bit about my childhood and my life in there that many people didn't know. Some friends and family of my mother didn't know. And it was the biggest part of the book. People really enjoyed that. And I was thinking, here I am thinking, well, I don't, it's not like I care talking about my life, but unless it's really going to make an impact, I don't usually say or talk about myself, because I let people talk about their stories and their lives. But most people think, oh my gosh, you must have had the most energetic, upbeat, healthy, fun people, and they instilled this, in you, how you are and how you love life and people and this pure joy. And my parents, they had a lot of struggles, but I grew up in the projects. And also my mom, she struggled, God rest their souls, with a lot of mental issues. So I'm going to say about at least 50%, could be more, she spent in mental institutions, and not good ones, like poor ones. So here I am, me and my brother. I don't know, God willing, we made it out, but it was a really bad situation. And not only did, you're poor, but your mom's that, but even the people in the project used to make fun of us because she would carry on and screaming out all night long. And it was just a really bad situation. I mean, I knew there was something bigger out there for me to get through. But the thing that I always did is I always had words. So I would put words up everywhere possible. Joy, love, like I was talking about. I would focus in on that one word, and I would just write them, and I would cut them out of magazines, and I would have those words everywhere. And I'd say, this is what I'm going to focus on today. The second thing is I moved. And that's where the dancing, like I was a dance major, I moved, and it set me free. And I would put the music on and I would dance. And the third thing is I always wrote. I always had journals. I scribble. I just write. I would just continually write and write and write. And those three things I did not knowing, you know what I mean? It just was innate in me that I was going to do those three things. In addition to that, I was able to see beyond what was right in front of me. So I would look over there, this is where I'm going, and not dwell in what was right here. And like, that's where the imagination and where I wanted to go. And I always, and to this day, my friends still want to borrow and believe there was 5 angels looking after me. Not a lot of angels, but they would laugh and they would carry on and they would bring me so much joy. So those things were in me my entire life. And I took them with me everywhere I went, every client I trained, the businesses I did. not knowing that this was a system of something I did every day. It wasn't time consuming, but I did it every single day of my life.
Okay. So sort of my follow-up to that is, can you tell me a little bit about the process of the writing of this book? Obviously, producing a book now in this new world has got to be a different sort of endeavor than it was, before.
Yeah.
What was the process for this one like?
So the Train Your Head Bible File came out in 2018, and now it's just recently been republished in paperback. And then my journal was it 2019-20, but just more recent, because I wanted to have something follow up with just a little bit of an explanation, and then the 2 journals in it that you could do. But the process of writing it took me, maybe 6 years. Well, I know it sounds like crazy because I keep looking over it, but it's like such a, easy to follow journal, and it's not this big novel. But for me to get to that, like I said before, I was interviewing a lot of clients to see what their secret sauce, what they did, the ones that had pure joy. And then I wanted to meet with as many, I call them the powers to be, in all walks of life to get their input, like the neuroscientists, the exercise physiologists, sports psychologists, the gurus, the fitness people, the nutritionists. And that took a long time. And I wanted to see if I could pull stuff from them to make something that was easy to follow. And so in doing that, that's what took me years. And then I would use my clients, because at the time I was still training people, and I also always taught classes. So I was interviewing people, and I would see what would work with them and what wouldn't. And the funny thing is, I didn't realize this, but almost every client I've ever had, they always reached their goals. And I didn't know why. Like, yeah, I worked them out. Yeah, I did this, I did that. But I was able to get inside their head, and figure out what they really wanted, what motivated them, how could I make it fun, how could I change it up, why did they really want this? And that's really why they were successful. So that's why the whole process of that, and trying to there's pages and pages. If you should, by the way, I'm working on another journal now for kids, and if you saw my desk, it's pages and pages and pages and pages of stuff until I get it down to that few sentences that, okay, this is easy to follow, and they might do it.
Okay.
Crazy person.
No, not a crazy.
And nothing is on, I don't type first. Everything is on paper and with colors and, highlights, pink for this, blue for this, green for that. And it's just papers after papers after papers. And then when I get done doing that, then I finally type it to make the manuscript.
Yeah. You know what? That doesn't sound like chaos. It just sounds like a process.
Yeah.
But I've got a question for you, and this actually is coming from our live stream. This is from Sarah. Sarah wants to know what advice you would give to those who are struggling to find joy right now. And I think that's a really great question, because I don't know for everyone if it was this way. But 2020 was such an awful year that we all, I think, we're sort of looking at the new year going, when it ends, there's a switch that flips and the happy comes back, right? It'll be good again. And we got there and we went, oh God, the next day was the same as yesterday, and I have to go put my mask on, and that can be really jarring. So what are some things that you would suggest for that?
Sarah, that's a really good question, and thank you so much for asking. First of all, not every day you're going to wake up feeling pure joy, and pippy skippy. It's just impossible. You're a human being, and you're going to have mixed emotions, and they're all good. What I teach is not about only have positive emotions, only be happy and joyful. No. You want to embrace all of them. And it's okay to be angry, frustrated, sad, anxious. All of it's good. The difference is when you have those other emotions, you go, it's okay. It's not me. Let's say you're feeling anxious because of everything going on. Just say, all right, this is just a thought I'm having. It's not me. It's not who I am. I love taking deep breaths in, even just for a minute. 4 deep breaths in, hold it, 4 out, and just relax and tell yourself, this will pass. Everything is going to be fine. Now, how would I want to feel? What would serve me well? What could I do right now that would make me feel good? And it's going to change. And for everybody, it's different. Some people, it's taking a walk outside, petting their cat, petting their dog, getting up and dancing around. It's going to be different for you in that moment. But the biggest thing is to say, hey, there's a lot going on out there. I can't control it, right? There's a lot. So it's okay that I have these different feelings, but I'm going to acknowledge it. It's okay to breathe through it. It's okay to feel that way. That doesn't own me. It's not who I am. Now, what would I like to feel about? So if you're feeling anxious, maybe I just want to feel peaceful. And what could I do right now to make me feel peaceful? I hope that answers it, Sarah.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm sure she'll respond in a moment. That, I think, is a great answer, though. And it sort of leads me, I guess, to my penultimate question. And I say penultimate only because I've done this now for 6 months, and it seems like every time I go, all right, it's my final question. Whoever it is gives me an answer, and I go, ooh, no, I have another question now. And there's really no pressure on that at all.
Okay.
So my penultimate question, in this time of intense feelings, when it can be very easy to get discouraged. It can be very easy to feel like I'm doing these 1 to 3 minute things and I'm not seeing the results that I want. And darn it all, I'm going to go back to bed. How would you suggest that people inspire themselves to sort of stay the course, I guess? You've got, I read, like I said in your bio here, your main mission is to highlight all the positive in the world. How do you do that when it seems like it's the opposite out there right now?
Okay. So I call this in the gap, in between the gap. Now is, if we can do it, is a wonderful opportunity to find that peacefulness, for me, that pure joy, just because. That means taking time to be with yourself and be quiet and allow yourself to be okay with the other mixed emotions and let them just feel it and breathe it and not run away from it. But then say, what can I do? What can I think about that would just bring me pure joy just to be here? So here's a little story so that you'll know I know this works. A year, I guess it was not this June, but last June, I got hit with a really horrible neck injury I mountain bike, I lift weights, I do all the stuff, and I just ignored it too long. Mm-hmm. And it was the nerves in my neck. And it went up into my head. And most people didn't know this, Drew, because they thought I was just touring. That for 6 months, I couldn't do podcasting. I couldn't type. I couldn't work out. I couldn't drive. I couldn't do anything. I was flat on my back, on my side. I mean, you would, like, for me, it was like, like, I couldn't do anything. I needed help to go to the bathroom. You know what I mean? Showering was huge. Eventually someone, they would help me drive to take me to the grocery store. And it was just horrific, and not knowing what it was. And it ended up, everything worked out. It was the way the spurs were hitting the nerves in my neck. So God bless. And I was able to start, it was eventually maybe last Christmas that I started doing more. And even just now in a few months, I'm still not up to full gear, but I've been biking and working out, and it's just been amazing. But while I was there, my mentor said something to me, and it stuck with me. He goes, "Oh, Sandy, this is such a gift." I go, "Excuse me?" He goes, "The universe has given you such a gift." I'm like, "I'm going to kill you." But he was saying, "You just said a few weeks ago, this was back in June a year, that you wanted to find pure joy and freedom. Can you find it here when you can't uplift people, when you can't speak, when you can't work out? And what I realized is if I could think I was enough and find that pure joy in the gap when I wasn't able to do something, I could take that with me, whatever was going on outside in the world. And you know what? It wasn't easy, but I did. And that was my journey. And now, there are times when I feel it. Of course, I get anxious and I get out of it. But then I remind myself to tap into my guiding system, the things that bring me pure joy. Think about what I know everyone says, be grateful, but I truly close my eyes and I'll say, what do I need right now? And what am I grateful for? And what can I do to get me there? And it's carried me all through, the quarantine and then some.
So the best advice for trying to get through this is to take a deep breath, close your eyes for a minute, and just think about how you got here and where you want to go from here then. Not necessarily be grateful, but, focusing on...
Yeah, just take a step back and say, listen, there's some things I can't control. But the one thing I can control, Drew, is how I feel in this moment. And being okay, you don't want to feel bad if you're anxious, frustrated, depressed, whatever. It's okay. But just allowing yourself to feel that way and then say, now, what I am, where you get your true power is when you say, now, I can control how I'm going to feel right now. I'm in control of it. No matter what's going on in the world, I am in control of it. And how do I want to feel right now? And it's not going to be every time, but the more and more you do it, the more it's going to kick in gear quicker. Do you know what I mean? It's not about being there all the time. It's trying to be there, I always say 51% of the time. If you're there 51% of the time, it's awesome.
So 51%. Okay. That seems very doable. That is suspiciously doable.
Yeah. You'd be surprised that all the other times we're not there. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah. So, actually, you answered that so perfectly. I don't have anything to follow that up with. I'm just like, no, that was well done. All right. Well, Sandy, I hope that you had a good time here. I hope that the people watching at home had a nice time as well. And I'm just happy to be back doing these again. And, shameless, selfless little plug for just a moment. If you liked what you heard tonight and you think to yourself, gee, that sounds really great, I would love to be able to try and put together my own game plan. And I can, give up 1 to 3 minutes in the morning to sort of get myself in the right headspace for this. You can get Sandy's book at Town Book Center. We are located in Collegeville, Pennsylvania. You'd be supporting a local indie. It's always a plus. If you don't live in Collegeville, Pennsylvania, or if you don't feel comfortable coming out, we understand completely. You can also always order from us online at townbc.com. That's TOWN, E as in Nike, B as in Bravo, C as in Charlie.com, townbc.com. So thank you so much for coming out. And again, Sandy, thank you so much for taking the time to talk with me today. It was a lot of fun for me.
I had a great time. It was cool.
Awesome.
Cool.
All right, everyone. Well, thank you so much and have a wonderful rest of your day. Take care, be safe, and we will see you next time.
All right.